Hi, this is Mariami from Shamanessence. Shamanessence is the name of, or the umbrella of the work that I do. It was given to me in the 90s by a friend called Dennis Mason. He sort of meditated on, uh, as a gift. He just said, I've meditated for about a month to find a name for what represents what you're about and what your contribution to the world is. And he came up with the name Shamanessence, which is really nice. And I think it was only maybe 4 or 5 years later when I put it online, that's when I started to see more of it around. It went out into the ethers. But anyway, I did create my product line and put the name Shamanessence on, and then I decided to cover my bodywork practice, which is based in the Feldenkrais method, somatic movement education, to put that under the umbrella as well of Shamanessence, the vibrational medicine, everything that I had to contribute and to others, coming from a contemporary dance background and movement education. And then I found that for me, I came from a very broken past. You could say I'm one of those broken people, lots of us in the world, and we have a choice to become victims of our circumstances and not be responsible for our actions, or take the initiative to change things in our life, which is not easy to do. Not easy to do when you're maybe with low self-worth, low self-esteem, and you've learned to be very independent and strong, and you haven't really learned how maybe to trust others, and to work with others through therapy. So I ended up having to learn myself how to heal. And obviously, I was inspired by lots of different people, lots of different teachers, and there was a lot of great things coming out in the 80s, Louise Hay and all kinds of things. And they were wonderful, but I think what really pulled me strongly as a student was Carlos Castaneda, which was another whole story. And at the same time, although I had avoided it for 12 years, I became into practicing with flower essences, which is vibrational medicine. And the really interesting thing that made me really good at this wasn't so much about learning about each plant and each flower and what the healing quality were, be it herbal, aromatherapy, or vibrational medicine, because they all have different healing qualities. But I was a natural muscle tester. I was really good at using the pendulum, and it didn't happen straight away. Going back in time, I met my mother, who I hadn't seen since I was about 4 years old, and she gave me a Native American sort of beaded pendulum, and she kind of introduced me to the pendulum. And I kind of thought, she said, this is a tool that you can program. So it was already language that I hadn't really heard before, and you can go forward and back, and that can be yes, and side to side can be no, or you can do clockwise, which is yes, and counterclockwise is no. Depends on what your body. She kind of explained to me briefly how you program it, but you kind of listen to your body to decide what kind of program it's going to be, something like that. It wasn't very clear. So there's me holding this pendulum and waiting for it to move, thinking that some magical force was going to come through and move the pendulum. I didn't understand that it's actually me who moves the pendulum, maybe from my subconscious, a micro movement of vibration once it's programmed, and then it moves. So there was a lot of mystery around it. But I actually started to get the knack of it, started to get it moving. And I think when I fell pregnant, the pendulum was going the opposite direction, and I got very confused, and I just threw it all. I didn't throw away, I still kept it, but I threw away using it for about 12 years. So it's when I got into studying flower essences again, having already worked with aromatherapy, I was very a natural with swinging the pendulum. And then I heard about muscle testing with fingers and body parts, and I was more adept at the pendulum. I was much more comfortable with it. And then when I was more relaxed and didn't really care about muscle testing other ways, then I realized how easy it was. And I also noticed that children pick it up really easily. And it's a very useful tool, muscle testing, applied kinesiology. You're basically tapping into, well, it doesn't have to be your body subconscious. You can tap into anything with given consent and ask yes, no questions. And, you can't take it as it said yes, so it's a yes. You have to take the questions from different directions. because yes, no, it can be tricky, it can be emotionally loaded, it can be an agenda behind it. So you've got to really check in that you're being very clear about what you're wanting to know. And it can become obsessive and addictive for some people. And that was me, where I was using muscle testing instead of using common sense. And I still occasionally fall into that addiction. But later in life, I came to realize that, we don't even need to muscle test anymore. You really get to the point where you hear or feel the answer before you muscle test. But what's also really important when I do a little video on how to muscle test in all the different ways is to actually learn to keep your mind clear. Because if you want to have a certain answer, a certain outcome, you're going to get it. You're going to get what you want. So you need to actually be in a clear space where you have no agenda about the answer. And you learn. You learn through trial and error about how to keep yourself clear. So in the beginning, you must just keep it very playful and light, and very basic things like it could be nutrition, diet, it could be muscle testing on a supplement, on like whether it would be good for you to alkalize your diet and so forth. And I also talk about working with the higher self. So there's a lot of things that you can learn, and I would like to find a way with more techno savvy people where I can make this interactive, where people can ask questions, because some stuff will make a lot of sense for people. They may be novices and things, and some stuff will be absolutely brand new. You're like, what is she talking about? So I'd like to make it simple and clear, because I do forget that I've been doing this stuff for years, and I may speak a language or speak about things that it's like, oh, we don't know what she's talking about. What are you talking about muscle testing? What are you using it for? So hopefully we'll have some structure, and we'll have some questions, and we'll take it from there, and just have fun with it. And I will explain what you can do with it and what's not for. Is not for example, fortune telling. It's not for asking universal questions of, is this true or is this true? Because the world and the matrix of what's out there is so big. We're like the newbies on the block. We don't really know anything. So you want to keep things simple, practical, down to earth, and only to use muscle testing when you really want to be very clear about something, and you're not quite sure if this is your gut feeling or your mind, or you really don't know at all, and you're going to ask your body for answers. So that's what we're going to use muscle testing for getting answers to simple questions. And we also want to learn how to simplify things. And that's what I'm hoping to cover, and I hope that was clear. So watch this space.